Maple Falls believed the story of Sarah Whitmore was one of jealousy, betrayal, and secrecy among a handful of people. But as investigators dug deeper, the shadows revealed something more terrifying, a web of silence that stretched into the very heart of the town's trusted institutions. The discovery. In 2004, nearly a decade after Sarah vanished, a local contractor unearthed an old metal filing cabinet in the basement of the Maple Falls Community Hospital. Inside, shredded memos, discarded reports, and one partially burned folder marked Incident Whitmore. The surviving pages hinted Sarah had filed a formal complaint shortly before her disappearance, not about her affair, but about patient mismanagement and falsified hospital records. For the investigation, Charles Grayson, the private investigator Sarah once contacted, had been following that very trail. His notes, retrieved from his office after his sudden disappearance, revealed Sarah believed a ring of hospital board members were covering up malpractice. Deaths of elderly patients brushed off as natural, but tied to illegal cost-cutting. Sarah's complaint disappeared from official logs. Hospital administrators denied it ever existed. Detectives learned that Pastor Graham, leader of a local church, had chaired the hospital's ethics board at the time. The same pastor who once offered Laura Thompson spiritual counseling. When rumors of her husband's affair spread, whispers began. Was Sarah silenced not because of her personal life, but because she threatened the reputations and profits of powerful town figures? The retired nurse, Evelyn Marks, had lived in Maple Falls her entire life. For decades, she'd worked the night shift at the community hospital, where silence was broken only by the beeping of monitors and the shuffle of shoes along linoleum floors. She remembered Sarah as bright but restless, a nurse who asked too many questions, who pushed against the quiet compliance expected of the staff. Weeks before Sarah vanished, Evelyn recalled a chilling encounter in the staff lounge. Sarah had leaned close, her voice barely above a whisper. "Evelyn, if something happens to me, it won't be Daniel. It'll be them." Evelyn had laughed it off, thinking Sarah was dramatizing her personal life. But when the younger nurse's eyes filled with tears, Evelyn felt a coldness she couldn't shake. After Sarah's disappearance, Evelyn tried to find the complaint Sarah had mentioned. The file room, usually meticulous, showed gaps, missing charts, unexplained purges of documents. When she asked about it, a supervisor told her sharply, best not to get involved. Years later, Evelyn confessed to detectives that she wished she had listened harder that night. Her voice trembled when she said, she looked over her shoulder 3 times before she spoke, like someone was watching even in that empty room. Detectives uncovered Sarah's unused train ticket destination, the city where Charles Grayson's office was located. But a second stub was found in the records, 2 tickets purchased under her name. Who was meant to travel with her? From Emily's storage unit, the tape labeled Sarah, final. Forensic audio specialists enhanced the background noise. Beneath Sarah's trembling voice, a faint sound emerges, a church bell tolling midnight. That placed her last message near St. Matthew's Church, the very church Pastor Graham controlled. Journalists later found evidence that donations from the Thompson family, Daniel and Laura, flowed directly to the church, which in turn funded community healthcare projects. Projects that never materialized. Money vanished. Paper trails ended. If Sarah's complaint exposed corruption, it wouldn't just ruin hospital administrators. It would destroy the church's reputation. And it would implicate Daniel Thompson, whose construction company had quietly received contracts from both the hospital and the church. A local reporter whispers, on record, "I was told flat out, stop asking about Sarah, or you'll end up like her." Police records from Sarah's disappearance night show strange omissions. Altered 911 logs and patrol unavailable. Maple Falls was not the kind of town where things slipped through the cracks. Police logs were precise, patrol schedules were routine, and nothing went unnoticed. That's why the gaps in the 911 records from the night Sarah vanished struck investigators like a lightning bolt. Entire call entries were missing, ripped out as if they had never existed. Dispatchers swore under oath that every call was logged, but no one could explain the holes. Even stranger, the patrol cars scheduled to cover Sarah's neighborhood were marked as unavailable. No accidents, no emergencies, just a blank entry in the duty roster. Residents remembered that night vividly. The sound of sirens cut short, then silence stretching through the streets. One neighbor recalled seeing a cruiser parked just blocks from where Sarah's car was found, its lights off. Two figures inside who never responded to her waves. When detectives pressed the department for answers, the explanation was thin. Clerical error, they said. But in a town as orderly as Maple Falls, clerical errors didn't erase multiple hours of calls and leave patrol units unaccounted for. The more investigators pushed, the tighter the silence grew. Promotions were handed out, files went missing, and those who asked questions were warned, sometimes subtly, sometimes directly, to let it go. It was as if the very system meant to protect Sarah had folded in on itself, or had been told to look away. 911 call logs, missing pages. Officer patrol cars unavailable during key hours. The officer assigned to Sarah's case later promoted to a senior position, despite misconduct rumors. A chilling discovery on Grayson's last recorded phone call, transcribed by his assistant. She knows too much. It's bigger than an affair. If I vanish, look at the hospital board. Look at the church. Look at the cops who keep burying my files. The town under suspicion. By now, Maple Falls wasn't just a town with secrets. It was a town that protected its secrets, with silence, with fear, with threats. And those who tried to pull back the curtain, Sarah, Grayson, even Emily, became casualties of a conspiracy no one dare challenge. 20 years later, candles still flicker at Sarah Whitmore's vigils. But in Maple Falls, the silence grows heavier. Was Sarah's disappearance a crime of passion or a crime of power? And if the hospital, the church, and the police were complicit, how many more voices were buried with hers? In Maple Falls, the question is no longer who hurt Sarah Whitmore, but how many hands pushed her into the dark. Sarah Whitmore's disappearance began with whispers of betrayal. But now, the shadows stretch far beyond Daniel, Laura, or Emily. Evidence points to the very institutions Maple Falls trusted most, its hospital, its church, even its police. If Sarah uncovered their secrets, was her silence a matter of passion or power? Next episode, the final chapter in Sarah Whitmore's story. After decades of lies, cover-ups, and unanswered questions, one truth remains. Someone in Maple Falls knows what happened that night. The only question is, who do you believe silenced Sarah Whitmore?